G'day, Shane Delling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now just a quick update. Today's the first day of the hearings at ICAC in relation to alleged corruption by the former New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian. Now they played some dynamite evidence. It's Gladys ducking and weaving a few weeks ago in a private hearing she had at ICAC. Now to the average person watching the video, it sounds like she can't remember, can't recall, and that's what she's saying. But she's been advised by her lawyers and barristers not to say that she suspected her former partner, Daryl Maguire, of acting corruptly. Now she forced him to resign from a parliamentary secretary position. I think that was after he had been accused of being corrupt at ICAC. And it's fairly interesting to watch her duck and weave. The council assisting ICAC are trying to nail her. They're saying, at that point, did you believe he had acted corruptly or suspect he had acted corruptly? She's ducking and weaving because she knows if she answers yes, well then she had an obligation to refer the matter to ICAC. And that's why she's ducking and weaving. Her lawyers and her barristers have advised her, don't answer that question, don't say you believed he had acted corruptly because otherwise you're gone. Now let's have a quick listen to the private hearing that Gladys Berejiklian had with ICAC, and you can determine yourself whether you think she's lying, whether she's ducking and weaving, or whether she's advised by her lawyers and barristers not to answer the question.
Is it right that at that point in time you suspected that Mr Maguire had been engaged in corrupt conduct?
I didn't know. I couldn't make any assumption at that stage. He was professing his innocence and saying it was a misunderstanding, but I also knew that given the dramatic way in which the information had been revealed and what it could mean, I wasn't sure. But under the circumstances, given he was a parliamentary secretary, I thought it appropriate to ask him to stand aside until the matters were investigated.
I'm not asking whether you were sure. What I'm asking is whether at that point in time when you asked Mr Maguire for his resignation, whether you suspected that Mr Maguire had been engaged in corrupt conduct.
I didn't know.
I'm not asking whether you knew. I'm asking you whether at that point in time you suspected that Mr Maguire was engaged in corrupt conduct or had been engaged in corrupt conduct.
I didn't know. I didn't know what. I was in shock. I didn't know what to think. I didn't have enough detail. I hadn't read what was happening. I can't remember what I thought at that time.
Let me ask it precisely. As at the time that you asked Mr Maguire for his resignation, did you suspect that Mr Maguire had been engaged in corrupt conduct?
I didn't know.
I'm not asking whether you knew. I'm asking whether at the time you asked for Mr Maguire's resignation, you suspected that he may have been engaged in corrupt conduct.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure.
I'm not asking whether you knew or whether you're sure. I'm asking whether at the time you asked for his resignation, just let me finish my question. I'm not asking whether you knew. I'm asking about the state of your suspicion or otherwise. Did you at that point in time suspect that Mr Maguire may have engaged in corrupt conduct?
No.
If she didn't believe he acted corruptly, why did she force him to resign from the parliamentary position? So there's a bit of a cart before the horse, and I'm sure there's further evidence to come that will show why she did resign as Premier a few weeks ago. She was really left with no choice because the evidence there is that she has acted corruptly. And ICAC also announced today, I think John Barilaro, former New South Wales Deputy Premier, will be giving evidence, I think, next week. And so if you haven't seen the video I've done on the real reasons he resigned a few days ago, make sure you visit my YouTube account or my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and watch that video before he does give evidence, so you'll know some of the background. Other than that, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you do visit my website, make sure you sign up for the free email notification. That way when I post a new article, you'll be the first to know.